I don't want to cut out celebrities from being able to run for office, but I think that if you are Herschel Walker, you are an insult to the black voters of Georgia.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the Georgia Senate runoff race between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. And the results for the race are already in. And Raphael Warnock will retain his seat in the Senate, giving Democrats a 51-49 advantage. Now, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to break down what that means for the Biden administration and what we could see from the Democrats in the Senate now that we know the numbers. Okay, we know that they're going to have a majority. They're not going to need Kamala Harris for a tiebreaker. And that kind of changes some things for the Democrats and is going to put a whole lot of pressure on them to do things that, quite honestly, they're not really going to want to do, but they're probably going to have to do if they want to get any type of momentum for their far left base going into 2024. But before I get in that, we need to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. $2,000. That's where gold is headed. The growth will continue throughout 2023 with gold prices remaining elevated at an average price of $2,086 an ounce. All this is according to Bank of America, and it looks like they are right. At the beginning of December, gold crossed $1,800 and still climbing. If this year has taught us anything, it's that tangible assets are the only assets you can count on, like gold. It's time to open a gold IRA. Crypto keeps tanking. Stocks are too volatile. Gold in your IRA is steady. So what are you waiting for? It's not too late. Thousands of people have retired comfortably with the help of Noble Gold Investments and their gold and silver IRAs. If you've been a hesitant investor, but one of the handful of Americans who can go for gold and silver in your IRA, now's the time to act. And this month, you'll get a free 3-ounce American silver virtual coin with every qualifying $20,000 IRA purchase or rollover today. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Call 877-646-5347 to find out more or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. And just remember, there's always a risk of investment and there's no guarantee of any kind. All right, so before we get into this, we need to check in on the mainstream liberal media and their reaction to the Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock race, as unsurprisingly, there seems to be a thing going on in the mainstream liberal media where they just openly disrespect Herschel Walker for being, I don't know, I guess not intelligent enough to be a senator. However, these people openly praise Joe Biden and John Fetterman. Again, the guy who literally cried when Joe Biden was elected president, Van Jones, has the gall, right, to go on national television and to say that Herschel Walker is a disgrace to black people. Take a look.
Tonight is about Georgia, and tonight is about Trump picking somebody who, frankly, used to be a hero. His name, Herschel Walker, used to mean inspiration. Now it means insult. He's an insult to the black community. And what you may see tonight is people coming out not just to vote in favor of a senator that they love, but just to vote against Donald Trump picking somebody like this and throwing this person at the voters in Georgia, like, well, you'll just pick anybody who's black. His judgment, Trump's judgment tonight is going to be, I think, called into question by a lot of people. And I think that when you have a situation where it's obvious that Trump, he was a little bit too clever by half. Mm-hmm. I know I'm going to put a black guy against a black guy, but the guy that he picked was the wrong black guy.
So you think it's insulting?
I think
it's absolutely insulting. I don't want to cut out celebrities from being able to run for office, but I think that if you are Herschel Walker, you are an insult to the black voters of Georgia. And honestly, I mean, I'm not a Republican, but it would be an insult to me as a Republican to think that this is the type of person that I actually want to send to the United States Senate.
Yeah, so this is the type of stuff that mainstream liberal media does, right? They roll out black folks to attack people like Herschel Walker and to say the things that white liberals really want to say, but they can't say without sounding racist, right? This is what they do, okay? It's the oldest trick in the book. Here's the thing. I don't want to hear anything from Democrats trying to lecture Republicans or conservatives on a candidate's mental capabilities and whether or not they're fit to serve in office. Again, this is the party that elected Joe Biden, who's brain dead, John Fetterman, who, I mean, we know for a fact, I mean, he's not all the way there either, okay? Again, they have no issues electing people who clearly have mental inefficiencies to office. They have no problem with it whatsoever, okay? But all of a sudden, when it comes to Herschel Walker, though, it's such a big deal. Such a big deal that he's a disgrace to black people, which is really just disrespectful because Herschel Walker is not a disgrace to black people, right? He's not a disgrace. It's not an insult, okay? Herschel Walker was a football player. He's a businessman. Is he the most well-spoken person in the world? No, okay? And I'll even tell you, he's not the most inspiring candidate in the world either. But at the same time, that's not an excuse to attack him as some type of insult, right? As if he can't do anything for himself. I mean, clearly the man can. He's very successful, right? But again, this is what they do, right? This is what they do. It's open season for black Republicans and black conservatives. But if Herschel Walker is an insult to black people, then Raphael Warnock is an insult to pastors because this guy allegedly is a pastor and he's pro-LGBTQ and pro-abortion. He'll go along with anything the Democrats agree with, even if it goes against his religious beliefs. So again, if Herschel Walker is an insult to black people, then Raphael Warnock has to be an insult to pastors, okay? So with that being said, here's the last little thing I'll say about Herschel Walker, okay? And I'm not trying to beat up on him too much. But if I got to be honest, despite what the mainstream liberal media is saying, yeah, Herschel Walker was not the most inspiring person in the world. I don't think he was a good candidate. I really do think that if it was somebody like Vernon Jones, okay, who I liked a lot, okay, for whatever reason, Trump didn't want Vernon Jones to go against Brian Kemp. He wanted Dave Perdue instead. For what reason, I don't really know. I think that Vernon Jones should have been the guy to either challenge Kemp, which, again, Kemp is a good conservative. I don't think he actually needed to be challenged. But, you know, Trump has a personal vendetta against him. But I think Vernon Jones should have been the guy, right, to run for that Senate seat against Raphael Warnock, not Herschel Walker. Okay, now I think Vernon Jones ended up running for like a rep or something like that. I don't think he won his race. But I think if you would have actually gotten mainstream support from the Republican Party, and if he would have ran for that Senate seat, I think he would have been more competitive than Herschel Walker. I mean, you had specifically black men more willing to vote for Brian Kemp than they were Herschel Walker, at least in the first time that this race took place, okay, in November on Election Day. So, you know, again, admittedly, Herschel Walker was not the best candidate, and he probably sunk his campaign when it came to the abortion comments and the obvious hypocrisy that was the abortion situation. He had his son come out and basically, you know, testify against him. It was just a bad situation. It was a bad look, and it probably turned a lot of conservatives off, right? Because conservatives, unlike liberals, actually do care about the quality of the candidate, right? They're just not going to go out there and hold their nose and vote for somebody, even if they don't like them, even if it's clear that they're not up for the job, like, again, Joe Biden and John Fetterman. Conservatives have standards. Democrats don't. It's a disadvantage to us, right? But again, you know, we have standards, okay? Dr. Oz probably would have won if he wasn't Dr. Oz, okay? If he was anybody else, he probably would have won. But again, Republicans didn't really like Oz like that. And I don't think that Herschel Walker inspired too many conservatives as well, too, to come out and vote for him. So it is what it is. I'm not surprised by the result. But here we are, right, in a situation where we're effectively in a stalemate, okay? We have a House that barely has a Republican majority, okay? Razor-thin majority. And then you have a Senate that has a razor-thin Democrat majority. Now, what does that mean? Again, it just means that there's going to be stalemate, that much of the Biden agenda is not going to be able to get done. But I do think that having this slight edge in the Senate for the Democrats will allow them to do some things or to push for some things that they otherwise realistically would have a hard time getting because of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, right? Before, when it was 50-50, they needed Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to get on board just to get to 50 votes, right? In which then Kamala Harris would be the tiebreaker. Now, they claim they wanted to repeal the filibuster, okay, to accomplish their agenda, to pass voting rights, stuff like that. However, they don't have the votes, right? Because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema didn't want to repeal the filibuster. Now that they have 51, all it takes is for them to get 50 votes, is that they don't need both of them anymore. They just need one of them, okay? If they can get one of them on board, then they'll have the 50 votes, and then they'll have Kamala Harris as the tiebreaker. And there's going to be a whole lot of pressure on the Democrats from the progressive base to try to codify Roe v. Wade into law by carving out a filibuster exception for, again, passing legislation to codify Roe v. Wade into law. Okay, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Democrats to do that now that they have a majority in the Senate. Now, will they be able to do that? I don't know. I actually don't think that the Democrats even want to do that because they want to leave the Roe v. Wade issue the way it is because they can effectively use that against Republicans. Okay, we saw how much the tallies came out and voted against Republicans because of Roe v. Wade. Democrats are aware of that. So if I had to guess, they're probably not going to use that filibuster carve out in order to actually do anything about Roe v. Wade because they don't want to lose those fear votes, right? The fear mongering vote is the strongest vote that you have, you know? You don't want to lose that, okay? And so I don't think the Democrats are actually going to do that. But now that the Democrats have complete control of the Senate, you could see them have a lot more wiggle room on certain issues that, you know, bypass the filibuster. Like, for example, the budget reconciliation process. You know, they have more leverage there in the Senate, okay? They don't have to get both Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board to do something. They just got to get one, right? They just got to convince one, get the 50 votes, and then Kamala Harris the tiebreaker. So you're going to see them kind of want to do more and put more of their far left agenda into budget reconciliation now because they have a little bit of that wiggle room, okay? But again, there are going to be certain issues where they're going to be challenged on. They're going to be pressured to actually try to do something again. And I think the Roe v. Wade one is going to be the main one. Okay. But Democrats probably are not going to go that far because it's just better off for that issue to remain an issue. That way, again, they can campaign on that. Right. But again, that could end up backfiring. So with that being said, again, I wouldn't expect much, okay, from the Biden administration for the next 2 years. But it definitely will be interesting to see how the dynamics play out, considering that the Republicans only have a thin majority in the House and, you know, Democrats have a thin majority in the Senate, you know, the type of legislation that will be passed through both chambers of Congress in which politicians will flip, okay? Like, what is the swing vote going to do? Okay, because, again, both chambers, because they're razor thin, on certain pieces of legislation, again, you could get some swing votes here and there, just based off, again, what the legislation is, what the topic is, and how people feel about it in the country. Again, we can see some interesting dynamics play out here. But again, for the most part, I expect nothing but gridlock. And it's going to be difficult for Biden to accomplish his agenda regardless. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.